Wanted, educated, professional, young woman. Wait, scratch that. Wanted. I sound a bounty hunter. Seeking. That's better. Make it no older than 30. I want maturity, not another mother or paid maiden aunt. To act as social secretary to prominent society widow. Will plan and oversee a complicated and often chaotic social schedule. Best to make that calendar. Planning and, organize luncheons and other events, answer correspondence, and act as liaison with society editors and journalists for all the newspapers. Nicely drafted, Diana. Room and board not offered, although the chosen shall work out of my home on Woodbury streetcar line. Neat appearance and fine manners will command a fair salary. Discretion is required. Inquire by ringing DE 1362. Mrs. Diana Putnam, Harborview. Interviews will be scheduled and held until this position has been filled.
Annex, the continuing story of a peculiar bend in the avenue. Traffic goes north, traffic goes south. The streetcar runs between. And all we can do is try to keep up.
October 23rd, 1916. Dear Diana, I write this letter with full awareness that I will most likely never send it. Such ill tidings are received ungraciously between the most bosom of sisters, and we are not friends. You think me a vicious gossip when I am only attempting to understand and anticipate this world as it disintegrates around us. You dismiss me as a child as I hesitate on my way to womanhood and when I need your friendship the most. This I accept. No matter the tension between us, the unspoken walls built between us, I take no elation or amusement from that which Jake Chilton discovered on the fire escape after we followed Donovan Shackelford from downtown on the streetcar, alighting and pursuing him to an apartment house. All of this we dared on one of my Nancy Dawson hunches, and it was Jake that went up the fire escape and overheard part of the exchange between Donovan and the woman he was calling upon. As a gentleman, Jake offered few specifics to me. However, he did attest that Donovan was trysting with a woman clad in a silken robe and crowned by a bad wig. That's all he would say. Diana, as another who has suffered much heartache at a relatively young age, I warn you about this man, Donovan Shackelford. He will darken your home and heart. Given the rift between you and my father, there's no point running to him or mailing this letter to you. Perhaps this must play out as intended. I write this not in vain, but, as always, to strive to make some sense of the world in which we live. Best, Nancy Elizabeth Dawson.
Madam, if you would. I'm buying flowers for a lady and I'm in a hurry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shackelford.
It's not a good afternoon. I'm in a rush. Direct me to your selection of fresh-cut flowers.
I don't have any fresh-cut flowers.
For anyone or just for me?
I'm not a florist. There's a lilac sanctuary over there. Plenty of flowers to be had there. Or are you not one for lilacs? No, I didn't figure so.
Madam.
Mrs. Olivia Chilton.
Mrs. Chilton. Have I done something to offend you?
Oh, please, speak English.
Do you insult all your customers this way?
Why, no, of course not. Only the ones who deserve it.
Then it's a wonder you have any business.
No, you degenerate. It's a wonder you have any business.
Degenerate? The very nerve.
I know of you. Flora Sampson was my good friend, a dear friend. She was my first friend here, and often she welcomed me into her home. Flora loved her home and her garden both, and when you and your company took it away from her for taxes, the county wanted to send her to the poor farm. Do you know what she did? Does it show up in your receipts? Flora Sampson took morphine rather than go to the poor farm. She couldn't bear being driven out.
I don't run a charity, Mrs. Chilton.
And I'm not running a free clinic, so go pester Diana. How long before you destroy her the way you destroyed my good friend Flora?
I hope you don't resent the presence of this recording apparatus. It was Father's old machine for capturing voice and business matters for later review. With these cunning and already somewhat antiquated wax cylinders, I can return and listen to each interview and be sure of making my best decision. You do understand?
Of course.
Very well. If it's working, it appears to be, please state your full name.
Eloise Chilton, but I've always been called Lois.
Please state your age.
I'm 27 years old. I'll be 28 next September.
Thank you. And thank you, Lois, for agreeing to meet with me for this position. Your mother thinks you'd be a perfect fit. I have to admit that my advertisement in the Harborview has failed to yield any satisfactory candidates. Your mother says you taught school back east? What did you teach?
Grammar school, and I often gave private art lessons, too. I stayed behind in Pittsburgh when my mother and Jake moved here to Oregon.
Have you been to our very own art museum here in Harborview yet?
Not yet, but I'm simply dying to see it. As an artist, I was self-taught from childhood. I attended teacher's college. My mother saw it as a more practical choice. Alas for that.
Is there such an overabundance of school teachers here in Harborview?
Seems it would be at the moment. My mother's threatening to make me a full-time clerk in her store, and more odious yet, force me to operate the butcher block.
That gets to my most significant question, Lois. Why does an intelligent, artistic, educated woman want to do this kind of work?
Escape. I plan to save every cent possible so that I may realize my dream.
And that is?
Traveling, living as an artist, among other artists, in Paris or whatever's left of it.
For purposes of escape. I understand that myself. Lois Chilton, you're hired as my social secretary. Be here at the house tomorrow morning at 9.
Wonderful. I'll be here, and thank you, Mrs. Putnam.
Oh, and Lois?
Yes?
Call me Diana.
Diana.
Now, Olivia must be going to pieces over at the store regarding our little interview. We're done recording, and now that we've discussed your duties, why don't you go and give her the good news?
I will. And thank you again, Diana. I look forward to working with you.
Lois, I assure you, the feeling is mutual.
Excuse me. Constance admitted me.
Donovan, what timing! I've just finished interviewing. You're looking at my new social secretary. Donovan Shackelford, this is Lois Chilton. She's moved here from Pittsburgh.
How do you do?
Just fine. And you?
Well.
Again, Lois, my thanks. I'll see you tomorrow morning, and please give your mother my best.
I will. Goodbye, Diana. Mr. Shackelford?
Mm-hmm. Chilton Trash.
Come again?
With all the bright young women in Harborview, you had to go and hire the hard luck case next door?
Donovan, once and for all, what exactly is your problem with the Chiltons?
Is that a rhetorical question, Dee?
I don't bother with rhetorical questions.
Oh, very well. You'll not be denied an answer. Why do I refer to them as Chilton Trash? Well, let me count the ways. Her mother.
Olivia?
The loudmouth merchant running that ticky-tacky little store over there. Well, then there's the boy, Jake.
You have a problem with the teenage boy?
It's that dire truck of his. He's always naked to the waist and covering it in suds.
I hadn't noticed, Donovan, but clearly you did.
Well, and now Hard Luck Lois joins our chapter play as Lady Diana's maid.
Donovan, listen to what I'm about to say to you. I love you. In fact, I happen to love you very much. I think we have a beautiful and long life together ahead of this moment. However, I will not allow you to speak so disrespectfully of the Chiltons or any of my neighbors. Love you or not, need you or not, it won't be tolerated.
Dee, calm yourself. Do not misunderstand my intentions. I intend to provide you with a life very soon to make all your dreams come true. If I prove overly efficient on occasion, I do make my sincere apologies.
Finished?
As of now, yes.
As you say, know this. I am not some damsel in need of you to protect me from the neighbor lady. Remember, I'm not your secretary, Donovan.
Of that I am well aware.
The Shackelford Company. Miss Helen Kidwell speaking.
Cut the crap, Helen. I haven't left Diana's yet, and she's outside with her mother right now, so this can't run long. We have a problem.
I'll say we do. Her name's Diana, and you keep spending time with her.
Save that old saw for later, Hel. Our problem is named Lois Chilton.
Lois Chilton? I love it. What kind of a name is that?
Well, Pittsburgh, evidently. She's the daughter of that Gorgon next door to Diana on Delaney Avenue. The one who runs the store.
Oh, yes. They have a truck.
They have more land than they need with that hovel of theirs. Old Olivia only got that place for so cheap because neighborhood children called it Ghost House. And once the Bats Farm, then part of the Gaumont South Tract.
Sold to Henry Pembroke in late 1913 with some controversy before being subdivided and sold to Mrs. Olivia Chilton, along with the land west of Delaney for her business, in August 1915. What about it?
The Chilton land is a separate matter for a later time. Our problem right now is that Lois Chilton is in a position to interfere in everything we've worked so hard for.
Explain this to me. How does this sensibly named woman pose a threat to anyone?
Diana just hired her as her social secretary. Lois will be in and out of this house all day.
What does that woman need a secretary for? Doesn't she just sit out there and pick lilacs?
She keeps busy, believe me. The last thing we need is someone else buzzing around Diana, eavesdropping on she and I. Possibly running to her mother, or the Pembrokes, or worse, Dawson with her stories. He was bad enough, but now this Lois gal.
All right. What are we going to do?
It's what I'm going to do. Helen, you know that I'm working on a timetable, right?
Aren't we all? Yes, Donovan. I'm aware of the timeline. January 1917. Where this timeline came from, what necessitates it, I don't know. But as with many things, I blame your mother. Why is this all so necessary?
Helen, you don't understand. If I don't wed Diana by the end of January, I lose everything. Everything. It's all gone.
Don't be so melodramatic.
There's nothing melodramatic about it, my dear. If I don't marry into the Pembroke family, and if I don't do it by the end of January, I'll lose control of the Shackelford Company and forfeit ownership of it and all of its subsidiaries and properties. Everything will be gone, as if snatched back from the grave.
Someone's holding strings on you. I suppose I never realized it until hearing this desperation in your voice. Frankly, you don't wear it well.
I'll have nothing. We'll have nothing. You've got your stake in this too, you know. Your share of the business someday, and our future together. Once Diana and the Lilac Farm are nothing but dull memories, this marriage must take place. Nothing must stand in the way. Not Tom Dawson, not Lois Chilton, or even Diana herself, after that exchange she and I had earlier.
Oh, poor Donovan. Did she turn out to have a will of her own after all?
I suspect she may prove as willful as you.
Do me a favor. Let's keep this professional and don't ever again compare me to Diana Pembroke or Putnam or whatever her name is. So, all right. This has to happen. What are you going to do?
Something strategic. I had planned to propose to Diana next month. But I believe I will push up the date of that offer.
It sounds like you're hiring her.
I'm much too busy this week to get away, but next. Oh, yes. Oh, Halloween. Oh, boogie boo. Yeah, that'll do.
Do what?
I'm going to ask Diana Putnam to marry me.
Gag. Make it quick.
We're playing the long game. You know what's involved.
Correction. I know of half of what's involved. Just enough to do your dirty work.
What do you want to know, Helen?
I want to know who the head man is.
Silly Helen. You're talking to him. Oh, and I hear Diana coming back, so I need to get off this telephone. Just know that we're about to make our move. It's happening, Hel.
Yes, Donovan. It's happening all right. As you please, Mr. Shackelford. Any time you want it, Mr. Shackelford. You're a boob, Mr. Shackelford. The key to your locked file cabinet was not well hidden. Let's see what secrets you're keeping from me. Why must you marry a woman you so evidently despise? Why are you working on a calendar? Who can take all of this away from you? As if from the grave, you said. Here, I spy something. It's a folder, engineering maps. It looks to be in the middle of nowhere. Just a few houses, right near, I should have known, the Pembroke Lilac Sanctuary. I know about that. These are labeled Nancy Dawson, Olivia Chilton, Chilton's Market. So many pictures of some young man washing his truck. He's circled the Dawson house, the Pembroke house, Diana's house, the Chilton house, and Market. What are you keeping from me, Donovan? Just what are you keeping from Helen?